here, which I wanted to try. I don't know if it's really that good, but we'll see. Because I'm really interested in a lot of these Mufasa piles, and that's mostly because I think that Mufasa is pretty great as a card. This one is sort of a yellow-purple Mufasa. We'll see if this one's any good. If it's not, I may load up like a green Fasa or something similar. But I wanted to give this one a try. I will bring up the deck list here. It's this. Can I even see it? No. It has no stats that I can bring up. Is that because I imported it, I guess? I have Ruined Pixelborn. I see. Duly noted. I will let Pavel know later. Apparently, if you import the deck into the collection, it just scuffs the whole universe. It's kind of hilarious, actually. So let me grab this deck list. And then the idea behind this is similar to what you would imagine most of the Mufasa decks are. Trying to leverage Mufasa, Rapunzel, sort of this Dock and Lantern package to get the cards out a little bit faster. And then it's sort of playing on a lot of the come-into-play stuff that you can be doing with these. I don't know if this is necessarily any better than just doing some of the other colors that are a little bit better, have a little bit better come-into-play abilities. But I do like the Ursulas and the Elsas. You know, ripping an Elsa off of Mufasa seems pretty great. Got a lot of top end, and then it can still close with goats just the same. Should have a lot of draw card in it overall to keep up between the Rapunzel, the Hades, the Maleficent, and the Rabbit. And then, yeah, I could see that for sure. Like the rip off of this. But I wanted to give it a try. If it's bad, it's bad. But I haven't really dabbled with the Mufasa decks enough to know what with them is good and what isn't. And I've been considering buying my last two Mufasas in paper. Like, the idea behind this seems great, but I could absolutely see... It is not really an original idea, right? I could see... Like, it's easy to be like, oh, well, dumping an Elsa and play early or dumping an Ursula and play early has got to be great. You know, obviously dumping Surfer in is great. It's just more of those. Yeah, the Eudora is another card that was something worth considering. It is difficult to consider those without... this is the first time I've even whipped the deck up at all. So this is what YP Mufasa. So this hand is bad. We get rid of this, we get rid of this. We can go Queen into Kuzco. It's kind of mid, but it's not so bad. We got a Dock. Dock is good. This is a good 3-drop. I really like Dock a lot. This is YP Mufasa, and we are currently 0-0 with it. So the fact that we get to go first means we can get rid of this and just play Queen. We don't even necessarily need to play Queen, but I think it's worth putting something on the field. When Dock gets smashed, it is big sad. I think this is... I think this card is even better than Winnie the Pooh. I think it's very strong. The fact that it quests for 2... I mean, I guess, yeah, it is pretty close to Winnie the Pooh. It just... This doesn't eat up another card, which is something to be aware of. Alright, we Queen, we Kuzco, we pass. I really like Kuzco in a deck like this, because when they get blown up, like, you just get better cards later, which is nice. Yeah, I do think that Winnie the Pooh is good. I mean, there could be an interesting spot where Winnie the Pooh, like, this is just like a yellow-blue deck. Because I've seen some of the blue Fasa things going around a little bit as interesting things to be doing as well. I think here we just get rid of the snake. I like that the snake can do interesting things with the rabbit, but it can't really do that next turn anyway. I think we're just getting rid of this. We battle here. If they decide to attack Kuzco, I don't really care. If they shift on the Jafar, I don't even think I care that much about that either. Yeah, it would be nice if it was a 3-3 to at least rumble with the Fox. I think that might be too strong. If they're just going to trade off here, I don't think I care that much. The play that would be the worst for me in this spot is if they... If they shift tank, they just get to, like, blow up my whole universe. Kind of no matter what I do here. Do I have a way of interfering with that? So if they shift tank, they get to kill 2 things, and then my other thing can fox and kill it. Yeah, it's not that bad. It's fine. Play the rabbit. We have the extra fox here, so and then we're going to draw the card off the Cusco and probably the rabbit too. I think I can get rid of the snake in this spot then. Actually, maybe I get rid of a fox. Because if they don't kill Doc, which does seem weird. What are we playing against? Purple steel. Alright, we'll get rid of the snake. The reason that I was considering the snake is because it's cheaper. But if they get rid of Doc, we're on off curve anyway, so we're not really going to use the snake at all. Because if they do have the shift tank, which is pretty likely here, then we're going to need to smash the fox into it anyway. And if they... I guess they could leave the Cusco in play, which would be pretty annoying. But then it gives us the ability to replay the Cusco as well, which I suppose is fine. Could heal this for 1. I don't really think that that matters. I'm just going to quest, play the fox, bounce this, bash here. Just getting rid of another snake. Just never have any snakes. We're snakeless. Alright, we'll do this. Let's say go. Yeah, the dragon really doesn't work. Because it needs 2 cards, and it costs so much. If it could be shifted, it would be interesting. But the fact that it can't shift really sets it back a lot. I think we're going to play the rabbit to start. It's another Doc. Battle with Cusco here. In theory, the rabbit next turn attacks. We do this. We won't be able to also play Doc. So I guess we ink Doc and say go. Yeah, if they hit the Cusco, I'm fine hitting the rabbit into the fox here. One thing that could happen in future sets, too, is there could be something that makes it so that enter the battlefield abilities don't trigger, which would make the Mim a lot better. He decides to choose violence. That's annoying. Can I draw my card here, please? Thank you. Well, we get to Elsa in a turn. This can't fight the hook, I don't believe. I feel like we're supposed to start with the sorceress. Then we can Mufasa next turn, maybe. Like, I'm debating just playing this Rapunzel, but the hook really just beats up on the Rapunzel, unfortunately. If we do this, we're going to go up to 9, 10, 11, 12. I mean, we've got the Elsa too, so I'm not as worried about the Captain Hook being a bully, but it'll be good next turn is the problem. I think I do this. Actually, it's this weird. Like, if I'd have realized that I had already inked this turn, maybe I would have considered the other line a little more. Because then I play this, and then I can follow it up with Elsa, and then I just leave the Mufasa in my hand. Because then we Elsa this and this, and then they just, like, don't have a great answer. Because now we hit with these. We just play this, and I can keep the Rapunzel in my hand for the time being. They're playing an awful lot of, like, random characters. I'm not particularly worried about what they're doing. And this protects us from shifting the Mufasa so much. They decide to smash Mufasa. Let's see what we get. We got a queen. Okay, we'll play our queen. We're a little bit weaker to swords now, but they can't do swords plus Tink. They can fight the queen here with 2 of their things. I think that's acceptable. Not too concerned about that. Okay, we've essentially cleaned up the board. Not essentially, we have cleaned up the board. I see. We're just gonna play an Ursula Raw, attack and say go. They have not gained any lore, so the Ursula's a little worse, of course, but it's still a 2/8, which is very good with Rapunzel, of course. We bash, we play a goat. I guess I just sit. They whole new world us. Unexpected. What is the whole new world for? I see. Just to see more cards. Understandable. Okay. So, the deck did some stuff and things. We try again. I didn't hate what was happening there, for sure. My problem with Cauldron is that it's just discarding a card. The only card that I would consider to try and do something similar to that right now would be Merlin's Squirrel, because at least it's a real card. And it's something that I would also consider with, we need to go first. Okay, well, I don't really know how we win this matchup, especially not with this hand. Not goat. Not this one. I don't even think I can keep the Mufasa. Or this Maleficent. Nah, I kind of got to keep a 3-drop. Okay, well, we're dead. I was really banking on hitting a 1-drop queen here. I really don't know how I can win this matchup. This is a really impossible deck to deal with the way that any of the decks are formatted if you're not playing steel. I'm not sure how this deck wins against steel, period, if I'm honest. It commits so many cards to just doing this crap. I don't know what it does against a steel deck. I'm sure that it has the ability to play against them. I don't know what they're doing that allows them to interact favorably. Like, they're playing so many cards that just, like, untap their stuff and play these. Like, what happens if somebody just plays Robin Hood? And it's just like, kill this, kill this, kill this, you know? If this deck becomes really big in your metagame, just run Steel and include, what is it? It's not Chief Bogo. Chief Bogo is the one that does 1 damage to everything. There's a different one that is good. If they untap their idiot, that would be really bad. If they untap the Pinocchio. Well, we can at least kill these 2. We're just never playing this in a million years. You have to hit this, and then Fox the other one. Yeah, I don't know where, like, if your opponent plays Steel Song or something, you do one of these, and they just kill it. Seems weird. Plasma Blast would be fine. Whatever the steel 4-drop is that just does 1 damage when it comes into play is just like a house against a deck like this. It just bullies the shit out of them, you know? 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, Beast. Is it a Beast? Yeah. So I need to play a couple of things, I guess. And just hope that they have nothing. I guess the best things that I can play are like a Dock and a Queen. Just Quest. Yeah, but just being able to interact with what they're doing with direct damage would be a way to interact with a deck like this. Hey, Card Crazy Bird, appreciate the follow. Well, they drew that, so we're dead. Okay. I guess we've perished. Fought against the rat twice today without a steel deck. We could just re-queue into them with a steel deck and then destroy them, but I really don't care to do that. It just doesn't matter. Also, being on the draw both times has been less than optimal. Yeah, I don't really know how that deck does against Steel Song. Nah, that deck, at least, any steel interaction stops what they're doing almost completely. Almost all of their cards are uninkable, and they almost all have 1 toughness, right? All of the untap your thing just doesn't do anything if you can interact with them directly. So singing Rage Against the Storm or any sort of deal 1 damage type effects, of which there are quite a few, just blows them out there. As if you stunt their first 2 or 3 turns, their deck isn't really that fast outside of that. Because they don't get enough ink to be able to do 2 or 3 things in a turn. Which dramatically slows down what they're capable of doing, right? So I put these back in for sure. I don't mind keeping this as ink, but I think this is fine. Have I ever played the Goofy 9-drop? I have not. I don't necessarily think that the Goofy is that strong of a card, because it's very expensive for what it's able to do. I'm not in the market to play really expensive cards unless they have a come into play ability. And the reason for that is that it is very difficult to win games a lot of times if you're not getting value out of the thing. So, like, let's imagine that you play the Goofy and then they immediately play the Maleficent Dragon, because you're about at that amount of ink. Then they have a thing, you have no thing. That's a problem. If they Tremaine you or whatever, it becomes really tricky. Whereas if I do that with Ursula, I drain them a lore, you know, and I drew a card. So at worst, I'm at least up a card. Or with the Surfer, sometimes you're up 2 cards or whatever, right? So if you don't have that sort of thing happening, it becomes pretty rough. So this is a tough spot here. I really want this Rapunzel to be good, but I feel like I have to ink it and just be okay with that, because there's just not going to be an opportunity for me to have anything in play that I can comfortably do anything with. Like, I could take this Cusco and attack it into Simba, but if I draw an uninkable, I'm just in a worse spot. Yeah, I think the Queen is pretty rough. If there were ways of allowing you to activate the abilities immediately, like if there's a location that says, you know, you can activate your thing right away, that would be a lot different then, because then that Queen has a lot more value spots that it can get you into. I would really like to draw an inkable card of some sort. Hopefully not another Mufasa, but this is great. We'll take this for sure. So let's quest with Doc. We'll play a Mufasa, and we'll say go. And then if we draw another Inkable, we can just do it again next turn. Or if our Doc is still alive, we can just do it again. And then after that, we just followed up with Rabbits forever until we're satisfied. So they just in time their own Mufasa. Interesting. Okay, so they're Steel Mufasa with Let the Storm Rage On and Just in Time. That's a lot of spells in their deck. They bash Doc. Okay. Well, that is not a problem for me. The thing about Doc is it really only needs to activate like 2 times, and it's been an incredible card. This is the best dwarf by such a margin, it's kind of absurd. The fact that it gains lore and also does a discount is very, very good. We got a 2 discount off of that, and it gave them 2 less lore because they didn't quest with their Simba, and it gave us 2 ink. That Doc is the best Amber card outside of Mufasa, probably, that came out. It's so good. As a 3-drop, like, jeez. Yeah, the fact that it quests for 2 while doing that is pretty brutal. So they decide to Swords my Mufasa. Sure. It would be active player, non-active player, so mine would happen first. So whoever's turn it is, all of their stuff goes in and resolves before any of your stuff. So they opt to let your Storm Rage on and destroy a Mufasa. Well, I don't have that many non-characters in my deck. There are some. Let's get a Doc. We'll take it. Yeah, it's basically whoever's turn it is, all their stuff happens, and then the other guy's stuff will happen. So they end up playing a Cinderella as a follow-up. So we have the ability to... I mean, we're just going to quest here. I'm just debating what I'm doing. Yeah, I have 2 Mufasas in paper, and I'm considering just buying the other 2. I missed buying one for like $11 today because my credit card wasn't saved. It was pretty brutal. I could play Hades and get one of these. I think I'd rather just like... I'm going to start with a Rabbit. And then I think we're just going to ink one of these. We're going to quest with both of these. And I guess we're just going to play Queen and Pass. Yeah, Mufasa's getting pretty close to 20. I mean, it is a very good card, and I think it's only going to get better. It's similar to Ariel, where the more songs that are good that are printed, the better a card like that gets. The more characters that are worthwhile, the better that Mufasa gets. I don't actually necessarily think... Yeah, as characters get stronger, Mufasa gets better. And the more characters that exist that are awesome with Mufasa, the better Mufasa gets, right? Take another Doc, sure. That'll let us play Ursula next turn if we want. The Beast, I think, will actually go down in future sets. I think the Beast is a very good card. And if your deck wants to play it, it definitely wants to play the full set of them, if it can. But the problem with... The reason that Beast is so expensive is that it is just the chase card. It's like the Rapunzel of the set. Of the set 2. There just aren't other things that are better to be doing or to get out of it. Because if you're playing Beast, you really need to play 4 of them. But in future decks, like when more cards come out, you may not necessarily play more Beasts. It has Shift 3, but do you really think that the next set is going to be flush with more Beasts than this one already has? Maybe. It is entirely possible. Who knows? I don't know. Like, it's absolutely possible that they just add more... I mean, if somebody's out there shifting Beast onto a card, it makes the draw portion of Beast a lot worse. Because they have already used 2 cards to get their Beast into play, And it doesn't necessarily get into play that much sooner. Like, it comes into play 2 turns earlier, but, like, what if there's better removal? You know, we're living in a world where there isn't any removal, right? Your best removal a lot of times is teeth in red. And some of the colors just literally have no interaction at all. If that changes even a little bit, cards like that become a lot worse and a lot scarier to play because they just don't do anything. I don't know what our opponent is looking for here off their Mufasa, but I hope they find it. Hans. 13th in line. Okay. Like, this Elsa becomes a lot better with Morph too. Because now all of a sudden we have something to shift it onto. You know, is a card that draws 1 card the end-all be-all? Yeah, Maui's going to be awesome because it kills all locations. Like, we have no idea what it's going to look like in the next set. Alright, well, we drain him out. I feel like this deck is probably pretty favored into most of the Mufasa variants. Just because a lot of the, like, top end that this deck is going to be playing are just better than some of the other top ends. But we'll see how it fares against RP with their Be Prepareds. Doc is generally very good against them. We get rid of these 2 for sure. We probably get rid of the goat as well. Because I'd rather not ink it. I'd rather get it into play later. This is a good draw. I don't know if the Lantern is better to play than just running out the Kuzco. Probably. I mean, otherwise we're just not playing it at all, right? Yeah, I could believe that. Hitting a snake. It'd be pretty rough. But it's no different than hitting a Lantern, I guess. But yeah, it's pretty unfortunate. I'm debating on whether or not I try to play aggressively or I don't. We are on the play. I guess maybe I don't play the queen. But I maybe keep the Kuzco. Like, I don't know if I need to be that aggressive. Because if I play the queen and they go 1-drop into snake, like, then the whole thing falls apart. We can ink the second Kuzco and just play Lantern. The Lantern just ramps us forever, pretty much. And then that'll let us, if we want, we could just run out the rabbit and then play Mufasa on 3, and then we don't even necessarily need to play the Doc. Which I think isn't terrible. Because Doc just dies to the Mim here pretty easily. It's just a little awkward. There is a world where we set up to try and get to the Stitch Surfer, but I don't think we have to do that this turn. I can just play the rabbit first. Which draws us a card, which is generally good in these matchups. So they played a Surfer, which we don't really have a ton of outs to currently in this deck. Which is awkward, obviously. I think we've been a Rapunzel. We Lantern, play Mufasa. And then just bash. And then we're sort of baiting them to try and hit this. Mostly because we don't have a great ink next turn. And I would rather them not be gaining as much lore, ideally. We'll see. Maybe that wasn't a great line. Maybe just keeping this as Tremaine bait is better. But I don't actually have any outs to the Surfer. We just sort of have to race. Which is obviously a bit awkward. We're going to have 6 next turn. Ideally, we have another 3-drop to play, so that we can do ink 3-drop, 3-drop with the Doc, because then that can set us up for the Surfer the following turn. I don't know why Surfing makes her evasive. It's a mystery to me as well. It's a mystery to all of us. Well, that is not the draw. I don't know if I'm ever going to be able to get Rapunzel value with the way that our hand is sculpted. We can go to 6. We can just get 7 next turn with this anyway, so we don't actually need the dock. We could just play the goat instead. Quest for 2. Go to 4. And then we go Surfer into Elsa, and then we get to keep the Rapunzel if we want. Or we can keep Ish the Rapunzel. Okay, I don't hate that. So we'll do this. We'll play the goat. And then we'll quest with both. Fox would be awkward. Because they could hit the snake, hit the Mufasa. I guess it's not that bad, because it's going to be unlikely. We only have 2 lanterns left in the deck, and there's plenty of stuff that we can hit. I am fine inking Rapunzel if it gives us a Stitch, but I would prefer to ink something else if we can. But it's going to be hard to do this race if we don't play these Elsas soon. We play a rabbit, so that's good for us. It means that this Surfer is going to draw 2 cards for sure. Okay, they make us draw a card. Draw another Mufasa. I think I'd still rather Surfer than Mufasa, ideally. Because it sets up the Elsa line a little bit better. Our ideal play is that they have to wipe our board. Wow, this fucking hand is just juiced. I guess maybe I don't need a second Surfer. Like, I don't envision a world where I can play a second Surfer. I have to play the Elsa next turn. Yeah, Jetsam is a card that's pretty decent against the minis. It's one of the cards that I was sort of testing. It could be good in this deck, too. Yeah, I guess I think I have to get rid of the Surfer to play the other Surfer. Because, like, I just don't see myself having time to play a second Surfer instead of the Elsa. So we do this, and then I think I just bash. I wonder if I'm supposed to goat the Mim Snake and then bash the Mufasa. So that they have to do a little bit more to get rid of our Mufasa here. Nah, I really need them to be prep, right? So I do want to play this Elsa next turn. I'm just trying to see if there's a way that I can ever protect this Mufasa that makes any sense. I don't think there is. I think we just have to bash. Like, we're already getting rolled by these minis, as is. Like, maybe with the way that our hand is, we couldn't ever really use this Rapunzel anyway. Because this is 4... I mean, they might be prep here. Maui. Okay, that's fine. Okay, so we go to... We force them to be prep. If I attack. If I play Elsa, I have to hit these two. That's really rough. Yeah, it's really... There are some spots where the green version of this can do well against, like, the Mim, but it's tough. I can get them to... Let them go to 15. if I attack here, and then play Elsa, the problem is that they can kill the Mufasa before they B-prep. Is that really truly an issue? Is the question. And maybe it's not. Like, they don't actually have to B-prep if I just hit these two. Because they can just kill my board with the Maui, and then they're fine. But there might not be anything that I can do about that. I think we just get rid of the Rapunzel. We play this. We tap these forever. And then I think I'm just down to quest, and then make it their problem. Because they have to do something to this board. Yeah, the Surfer Mini does just surf away all the games. That's what happens when you're on the draw. A lot. Like, this card on the draw is much worse than on the play. On the play, going Mini Surfer is just problematic a lot of times. Like, it is one of the ways that this deck just gets to steamroll games. It's another reason that I sort of like the ready all your stuff version of this list. You could add Jetsam to this, yeah. Absolutely. So this kills our Stitch Surfer. Jetsam would give us a way of actually interacting with this, but Jetsam is a lot worse of a hit than a lot of cards. So they just played an Ursula, so we're pretty screwed here. Like, without another Elsa, we're just dead, right? So this puts us to 17. $18, $19. We're like a little ink short of being able to win this. Because we can play 2 goats, but that doesn't do enough. Having Mufasa hit is just worse than questing. Unless it hits... what, exactly Elsa? Yeah, it has to hit exactly Elsa. Can I replay... I don't have enough to replay Elsa, right? If I had a second Elsa in hand to shift, that would work. I guess I have to just bash here and hope that it's good enough. Because I have to hit these two and then get them with the goats. Like, this has to be Elsa exactly. It is a rabbit. That's a rebuy, technically, for another fox. What is the shift on this? 6? So I have 9. So I could fox the rabbit back, technically, and then draw the Elsa to shift it. I did not. Okay, they got me. Can't stop their Surfers and Ursula here. I don't think there's really any option. Yep. We've been got. There's a lot, maybe too many expensive cards in this deck. Though I guess we lost to Surfers on the draw, right? Yeah, I think it would probably need Jetsam to be able to compete with RP, but we'll give it another couple jams before tweaking it too much. Can look at the deck just to see if there's anywhere that makes sense to sort of shave for them. The deck list is pretty tight as is. You could kind of cut the Queen package, I guess. Add some Jetsams and a couple of other cards. Pan's Shadow is not really a card when you don't have enough... we only have Fox Mim, that's it. So I don't know if that really works. We take these out and this, and we just keep this. Yeah, the problem with Pan Shadow in this list is that there's only the Fox Mims that have Rush, whereas in the Ruby version of the list, there are other additional cards that also have Rush, which make it a little bit more of an option then. Whereas I don't necessarily think that it is in this list. Okay, we bash here. I think we're getting rid of the Rapunzel. I'm actually going to play this Cusco and say go. I didn't see what the other color was. I thought it was steel, but I could be wrong. Oh, it was blue. It was blue-purple. Okay. Oh yeah, they inked Grammatala turn 1. That's right. That's right. Interesting. Yeah, I'd whipped up a version of that deck early on that leveraged like getting a lot of extra ink out and then just having all the spellbooks to just blast everything, but I don't know how strong that realistically is. I think, given that we really need ink here, I think I'm going to bash with both of these and just bounce the queen back to my hand and say go. Because I really need to make sure that I do rabbit into Mufasa here, otherwise our hand is going to be pretty rough. And if they decide just to deal with the llama here and draw us a card, I think that's okay. At least it doesn't matter a ton. I do think that there are a lot of blue cards that are really interesting, because there's a lot of really lore-dense ones. Like Duke Weaselton and Caterpillar and things like that are just very high lore things that you could be doing, which I think is really interesting. I don't know how their matchup is going to be into a lot of these steel things, but this Lantern is at the least opportune time I think I could have imagined. I think the play is just to run out the rabbit here. Do we opt to kill this Mim? I think so. We probably could have just quested rather than attacking it and let them attack back into us. I think that might have been better to put us to 4. There is a world where I do Lantern plus a 4-drop if the 4-drop is good. Given that we drew another expensive card, I'm debating on how much I care about this Mufasa this turn, and whether I should just try to develop Lantern. Because we could do Lantern plus the Maleficent and try and draw another Inkable. I think that's another option as well. Yeah, I kind of like that. If we miss on an Inkable, are we inking this Mufasa? Probably just so we can play the Ursulas. Yeah, I think so. I think I don't hate that, because it leads us into these Ursulas a little better, even if we have to ink a Mufasa here. I think being in a position where we can potentially play Ursulas next turn is pretty good. Like, I do think that the Mufasa's good, but this matchup is a little bit worse than some of the other ones with more removal. So they Fox. They're probably going to kill the rabbit here, which is fine. Draws us a card. It is another Lantern, which is awkward. Likely the worst draw. If we find an Inkable, I'm still in the market to Ursula, probably, though. awkward. That is a very good card. Probably not as important as the Ursula this turn, though. Yeah, I'm still fine just to play the Ursula here. This gets us back on the drawing cards train, which is important. This is actually fine. Any Inkable allows us to do Lantern plus an Ursula next turn as well. So I want to kill something here. I think it is just the Fox, and then we say go. Because they don't have any, like, Tremaines, so having just one thing is not the end of the world. At least this means that our future Mufasas are very good. We can also get a rabbit back in a couple of turns if we want with the Hades. I play Gaston. Gaston's very lore dense, which is problematic. We do have double Ursula, though, plus the Elsas. So we might be able to race with that. Assuming that they're going to play Blue Hades next turn on one of these. Could also sing Let It Go, which would be problematic. I think we're going to ink the Queen. I will play... Yeah, Tala's a problem card a lot of times. Because it is difficult to remove without it being problematic. So we do this. That gives us a pretty good card. I think I'm going to quest with Queen. Or sorry, with the Ursula. And there's a world where I use this Rapunzel to draw a bunch of cards. Like, let's imagine that this Gaston attacks this Ursula. Which it looks like it is going to. I can use this Ursula to hit the Gaston. And then I can just Rapunzel to heal it. Okay, so they'll gain their one, that's fine. I kind of think I'm in the market to just take this off the table, heal this for a bunch. Because I can get the other Lantern developed as well. I just draw a bunch of cards. Okay, I almost think that that's necessary here. Mostly just to get the Gaston off the table, but also the extra draw is nice. So I think I am going to develop this Lantern too, because I'd really like to have it just in play. Because it gives us just access to more things. So let's start with this, draw a bunch of cards. So we can ink the Queen. Play a rabbit, or we can put a Hades into play and grab one of these other cards. I think I'd rather just ink the Queen. We'll play a rabbit, draw a card. And then say go. And then if they invest a lot of resources into dealing with the Ursula, that's fine. We're getting to the point where we can, like, Hades back our Ursulas. Yeah, there's the Hades Fox loop, which is nice. Hades Snake loops as well. We have a Fox in here, so we can just keep doing that over and over. Killing a lot of their things as well. We can even bounce the Rapunzel a couple of times. Now that we have the Elsa, we'll see how they interact with our board. But now that we have this Elsa, it does strike me more as we're going to want to deal with what they're doing here before it gets too out of control. Because they have a pretty wide board. If they opt just to quest, we can pretty well clean up everything that they're doing without too much effort. Drawing a Fox here was actually huge too. So what is our best way of dealing with all of this? So if I Elsa for 5... we tap this and this. Is there a way for me to kill Ursula reasonably? Or do we just leave Ursula tapped and kill these 3? I feel like I have to just leave Ursula tapped and kill everything else. What are we foxing back? I wonder. Or how are we killing this crab? We could Ursula plus Rabbit. Is that even that good? Well, we're definitely Elsaing here 100% of the time, so let's start with that. So we're going to do these. We're going to play Elsa. We're going to tap the Ursula and I guess the Tala. The alternative is that we tap this and we just deal with these two. And then we ignore the Tala. Maybe that's better. Maybe we just play for tempo instead. I don't need this snake at all. I'd rather have the ink. We can... Do we ignore the rabbit and just kill only the crab? Like, I need to pull this crab off the table for sure. I can put the Rapunzel back in my hand, actually. Let's do this. I have an idea. I'm going to hit here, draw a card. Then we'll hit here, take out the crab. Then I will play the fox, bounce the Rapunzel, fox here, and then we'll quest with the Ursula. And then we'll pass it back. And now, if our opponent chooses to Tala into the Mim, that's fine. If they leave this Elsa in play instead of putting it into our Inkwell somehow, then that's pretty good for us. Obviously, if the Ursula is still in play after this turn, I'm not 100% sure what the plan is. But we do have the ability to Fox into it and then replay the Fox, and, like, bounce two of our things, and we can kill it that way. Yeah, so we have the Hades Fox loop as well. So we'll see what they do. It really all depends on if they have the blue Hades or not. If they don't, like, they're just running out double Cogsworth. Questing to go to 11? No. Okay, that makes sense. I wish I had a goat. That is pretty good as well. Just keep these tapped. The Cogsworth really doesn't matter at all. We just quest here, quest here. We play another Elsa. Hit these two. I ink this. And then just do 1, 2, 3. Rapunzel on the Ursula. As they go. This is, yeah, Pixelborn is, it's like a fan-made, it's a fan-made, Lorcana client, similar to like a Cockatrice, but it's a lot more developed. It's made by just one guy. It's pretty great. I've been enjoying Lorcana quite a bit. I think it's really fun. This client is free, so if you haven't checked out Pixelborn, you can go here, which is just to pixelborntcg.com, and it gives you some instructions on how to download the client, how to set up the images. The images are just in a folder, and then they connect up to objects in here so that you're able to see what's going on. Yeah, I'm surprised Pavel doesn't use more of the Patreon money to do stuff with, you know, whether it's in-game stuff or just taking even a bigger cut for himself. But I suppose it does help avoid some of the legal liability. If you're not making any money off of this, it's even harder for them to want to shut it down. which is kind of the reason that that I think that he's not. So we won that one. That was pretty good. Those two colors don't really have a ton of answers for going big and tall like we did. So yeah, there's a full ranking system here. I won't be able to back out. I can show you after this game. There's a full ladder to grind that also includes monthly prizes and stuff. You get in-game currency that you can spend on cosmetics. There's a leaderboard with the top 25. Like, it's similar to... I don't remember if you played Hearthstone or not. Like, the ladder that they have there. It's very similar to that. But then you just queue in, and it matches you pretty well. I didn't see what colors they were. Probably discard. I remember one of them, but not both of them. We'll get rid of those. I guess Rapunzel too. And this. We'll just keep Mufasa and maybe the fox. Sure. Lemon lime. Okay, so they're probably on the other Mufasa deck. That would make sense. Yeah, the thing about this is because it's not claiming to be an official client, for one, and for two, it's not making any money. Like all the Patreon just does server costs. I don't even think that he takes a salary at all from himself. I'm pretty sure that he just pays server costs with this, which would likely mean that he's either a dev in general or independently wealthy would be my assumptions on it. Presumably, he is just a dev that, you know, does normal dev work, and then because of that, he just doesn't necessarily... This is like a side hobby for him. Or he's independently wealthy. Who knows? You know, I don't know his personal life. But he does do a good job of setting this up, and if you are not committing to the Patreon, that is totally fine. Patreon money gives you this little symbol. You get a little bit of feedback on some of the stuff ahead of time, and then any money that's left over does go directly to charity, which is also very nice, because charity is in general pretty great, you know? I don't know what our plan is against just like Shift Stitch here. Like, I guess we're gonna have to blow up this pane, but I don't really know what we're supposed to do against this. Maybe we just attack pane and then hit here. It feels very strongly like I need to deal with this Stitch somehow. But I don't really have the way to do that. And I don't think this is it. I have to pull some of these things off the board, though. There's no way for me to kill both of these. I can kill one or the other. So I may as well just develop the lantern so that I can try to get to Elsa a little bit sooner. We'll quest here, we'll lantern Fox this, and then we'll bash the pain so that they can't just pain panic me. It's not great. This gets us to 6 next turn, which is like not a strong number for us. Like, we still just don't have an answer to the Stitch. Yeah, it's kind of the best that I got here. I'm surprised that they didn't just play a Mufasa. Are they just going to play a flyer? Okay. Well, that's bad for us. Yeah, our deck really is not set up super well to beat decks that do things every turn. How dare they? Yeah, the deck probably super needs Jetsam. I'm just not sure where to put it. Maybe we'll switch out something after this. We'll look at it. I think it's probably cut the queen package, because I haven't really liked it in here anyway. Are we just dead, though? This gets us to 6. They go to 17. We can Elsa this, but then we literally have to Elsa every turn for the rest of the game. Otherwise, the Ray kills us. I don't like that. Okay, so we'll do this. The Mufasa really doesn't do a ton, but it does give us the ability to hit an Elsa. We could potentially trade off this Stitch. I mean, but adding Jetsam, it isn't just a direct switch, because that's like 7 cards or whatever. But we'll look at it, because if we cut ones, then we're in a worse spot. But we'll look at the deck after this. Is it just play Rabbit plus this? I think it is. Let's just Rabbit this. And say go. Oh, we're just dead anyway. Never mind, we're just dead. We don't have enough to... We already inked this turn, so... I mean, Crab is not a real card. Crab does nothing for this deck. Crab doesn't... Jetsam is fine. The Crab doesn't actually help this deck at all. Like, it just gives us another 3-drop that we don't really ever want. Cards that I'm considering... Let me filter here. By cost, low to high. I guess I can do it over here for what I'm looking at. So, the problem with Crab is that it's cool, but it doesn't ever do anything that you want when you want it. I am literally never in the market to Pascal Crab. Like, that is just such a blowout for yourself. And realistically, this isn't a control deck. This is supposed to just be an aggro deck most of the time. All these Mufasa decks shouldn't be trying to control the board. They should be trying to win the game. And putting Crab in the deck is not necessarily trying to win the game. Pan's Shadow Pocket Watch. Wow, we are really, really lost in the sauce here, huh? That is too deep, 5 me. Maybe Eudora could be interesting. I'm not super excited about just playing a vanilla 1/9 though. But it could be interesting. So I think I'm looking to cut these. This leaves us with no 1-drops, but I don't necessarily think I care that much. Oh my god, chill. Chill out. I have read your comment. I see it. I see and acknowledge it. So we likely do need Jetsams. I don't disagree with that. We need some amount of them. Have I considered adding Eudora and Jetsam? Yeah. So my problem with adding Eudora and Jetsam is that the curve of the deck goes from something manageable to like 1,000. Right? Because now we have these snakes that aren't even good anymore because we have nothing to bounce. The fox also has nothing to bounce, which is problematic. I think we can probably get away with like 3 Jetsams because you really need 1. You don't need a bunch of Jetsams. But we do need to look at some other cards that we can potentially consider that are a little bit cheaper. Maybe around the 2 slot. To consider for a deck like this. 1 or 2. Could be something like Rabbit, even. Could be the 4th Jetsam, and then we just look at adding 3 of something else a little cheaper. Possibly be going up to the last Lantern. Okay, so if we do this, and then we add the other Jetsam, wherever the hell Jetsam is, down here. Could be Yzma 2. That is an option. Inkable-wise, we're at 18. So this deck is a ton. However, we just were playing a deck a little while ago that was $50. We just happen to be playing most of the more expensive cards in this list. Like, all of these cards are some of the most expensive ones in the game currently. 4-drop Jafar doesn't really solve any of the problems. Like, we have so many 4-drops right now. We have almost 20 4-drops, which with the Lantern is okay. But if we don't have the Lantern or Dock, then the 4s are pretty awkward. And I don't really want to add any additional non-Mufasa targets. It is tough. The Yzma is interesting. Squirrel could also be interesting. There is a rarity that is essentially mythic rare, that these are all sort of the mythic rare cards. We just happen to have, you know, a $10 card, a $10 card, a $10 card. You know, we just happen to have a lot of the... We have, you know, $50 here, $50 here, $40 here, $40 here, you know. So we just happen to have a lot of really high-cost cards in here. If you look at a lot of the decks, for the most part, even some of the more competitive ones, a lot of it is just, like, if we look at a deck like this, all of it is in this single staple, right? There's a little bit here, there's a little bit here, there's a little bit here. Like, there's a few cards that have some value to them, but a lot of it is just in a single individual card. A lot of it is just rarity plus playability. There's only been 2 sets so far, so that skews it a little bit. Okay, so do we just want to add a 1-drop into a deck like this? Something like Hey Hey or Timon or Sim. Most of the 1-drops are pretty bad. Pascal, interesting, but not great. I only really have 2 slots, so it kind of feels bad to add anything that just doesn't really work with the rest of the deck. LeFou could be interesting. Simba as a 2 could be interesting. Not particularly thrilling. Could just be 2 squirrels. Help smooth the deck out a little bit. It doesn't necessarily need to be a 2-drop, though, because we do have the lanterns as a 2-drop. Like, the snakes are going to have to get mulliganed a lot in this list. Are there any other 2s that are super exciting? I do like this one. None of the other ones outside of, like, Yzma really do much. The squirrel and Yzma are pretty close, but the squirrel works a little bit better with... sometimes if we use our Mufasa aggressively. I don't know, we're going to try something like this. Yeah, the snake could maybe come down a little bit, too. I'm going to try this with the snakes as is. And then we'll see how we feel about this. So let's do export, copy to clipboard. We come back in here. We go into our list, and we do import. And then we'll give this another go. Yeah, it wouldn't surprise me once more people are playing some of these decks, too, that they feel a little bit cheaper as well. Some of this is price memory from having availability troubles earlier on. We don't really need all of these foxes. I don't mind having 2 lanterns too much. Like, it's not that bad. What if we did something like this? Okay. Unfortunately, we're on the draw. Being on the play would have been much better with this hand. That's true. That is certainly true. They have Pascal. I think we get rid of the snake and say go. It looks like we're not going to be making too many plays before turn like 1,000, which is unfortunate. They're probably the aggro deck as opposed to the... Well, not necessarily, I suppose. I think I have to get rid of one of these Rapunzels for sure. 1 is good, 2 is a bit unnecessary here. I think we play the Lantern. We're likely going to play this Rabbit. And then we're going to have a turn where we can, like, Lantern plus one of these things. And then that'll be able to get out the other one. If this becomes a huge problem, like, if they're too aggressive, we can always, like, take out the Cusco next turn by playing Squirrel plus the Fox as well. Could play Jetsam, too, just straight up. That is an option. They have a Rafiki, which is tricky. Are we ever going to have time to play this Squirrel? I don't think so. I think we'll do this. I think I'm going to play the Jetsam to slow down the curve a little bit. This gives us an interesting line in 2 turns where we can, like, hit 2 of these things and then Rapunzel it as well. Assuming that that's an option for us. And next turn we have the ability to play, like, the Lantern plus Rabbit if they don't really forward their board too much more than just attacking with Rafiki. And I am willing to play into Crab if they decide to... Oh, they ink their Crab. Okay. I'm willing to do this, for sure. And then I think I'm willing to get rid of a Fox so that I can play this Lantern. And then we'll use this and this. Just play the other Jetsam. Or do I play the Rabbits so that I have Inkables for next turn? Alright. We'll see if the Jetsam is good. We'll just run out all the Jetsams. Jetsam all the time. All Jetsams. Oh, shit. It's a 3/7. It's so big. What do we do against that? Probably draw a bunch of cards, huh? Man, 3/7? Fuck. Right, well, we bash here to start, and we're going to draw some cards. So let's do Lantern, Lantern, Rapunzel. And let's draw some cards, and we'll start there. Elsa helps a lot, actually. We can't Elsa next turn, right? Unless we ink, but we can ink. I can ink a goat, because we are a million miles from winning at this point anyway. I probably actually just trade off this Rafiki here. Okay, just do something like this. Put this in hand. We'll just bash here. Quest with the Jetsam. And say go. Because now next turn we have Elsa that we can run out, tap 2 of their things. Quest with the Jetsams, but what that lets us do as well is then we can attack with the Elsa on, say, the Fairy Godmother. And then draw a bunch of cards with the Rapunzel if we want. Or we can Ursula, is another choice too. And we're doing this for sure. If we Elsa... Well, if we Ursula, we're just, like, not winning this race ever, right? We kind of have to Elsa. Like, how are we even taking out a Godmother? We're gonna, like, hit it with this and an Elsa. Yeah, so I think we just have to get rid of a goat. And then we're just gonna have to Elsa here. And I think it's this and this. And then we quest with these 2. And then I can potentially remove the Fairy Godmother and just draw some cards. And that'll give me more to work with. I almost want to go up to the 4th Elsa for this deck. Like maybe shave an Ursula for another Elsa. It's kind of weird, but... Like the Elsa seems so important for tempo. Like this feels a lot more like an Elsa deck than it does an Ursula deck. Like this card is obviously still very good. But just shifting the numbers so that this is a 3 and this is a 4, I think would be okay. They play a Hades, I suppose grab Cusco. Okay, that's fine. I mean, I don't love it, because they're 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Another Ursula. Yeah, I don't think this deck necessarily has enough removal to not be running all of the Ursulas. Like, does removing this and drawing a bunch of cards, is that even really that helpful here? I mean, it's not bad, right? But then they still have 1, 2, 3. They still have a lot on the board. I think it's maybe fine, though. Let's start with this, because I think this is almost forced. Lantern, Lantern, Rapunzel. Like, I think this play is pretty forced in here. Get to run, like, we're just glut on big 7 drops that I don't think we really have the ability to play all of. Bash here, though. Take that out. I mean, we could hit with the Mufasa here, but I think I'd rather have another thing in play to try and challenge whatever comes in. So I think I just quest with this, and maybe run out the other Jetsam, and we just ink like the Cusco. We need to get a little bit more going here. Opponent gonna go to 14 if they want. They may do Mufasa Hades against the Elsa. That wouldn't surprise me that much as a line. Like, that combination is pretty good for them. Especially if Mufasa turns into something good. There's no shift Rapunzels, right? Yeah, there's a lot of top end to be only able to play 1 a turn. Like, even with double Lantern, it doesn't feel like we have enough ink at all. They play an Elsa now. Well, that's problematic. There is a shift Rapunzel, but it's not very good. You're right. It's the 05 one that every time that you heal, you draw cards. It's not good to, like, when you think about what your Rapunzel is already doing. Like, this is a come into play ability. Hey, Matt, how are you? Okay, so what do I do against this? They are just killing us next turn with the Mufasa, the Elsa, and the Pascal. So this is 6-7. We are just perpetually in this state where if we don't have Elsa, we're just dead on board. We were on the draw this game, weren't we? This feels like an on the draw kind of game. Since we're always, we've basically been behind the whole time. On the draw. Yep. Okay. So let's start with this and see if they whiff. If they don't, we're just dead. They hit a Hades. Okay. We're dead. Alright, so this deck is having a hard time here. Because it just doesn't really have removal is the problem. And I think that the 4-drop slot is a little glut. Like, it's just full of 4s and 7s. I think that the number of Ursulas... Well, let's build it with the other thing so it's a little bit easier. So it definitely feels like there's too many Ursulas and we maybe need more Elsas. It could be because we have the Carefree Surface, we just don't need as many Ursulas, which is kind of weird, but... Like, I don't mind the idea of some of these other 5s, like the Fairy Godmother or Eudora, potentially. I just don't know where it really fits, outside of just being a big thing at a better mana cost than what we have for some of our other things. Without Queen, I think the Eudora is a lot worse, because it can never really trade up into anything. I don't think you can completely take out Hades, otherwise you're just never beating a Be Prepared deck ever. I think you're just losing to a Be Prepared deck then. You play stuff to the board. 6 cost Mickey, which one is that one? This one? Pay 3 less for the next character. It's interesting. It would let us play some of these really expensive things a lot more easily. Which I definitely don't hate. Okay, what if we shave a couple squirrels? This is sort of like a Eudora that's a little bit more expensive. What if we cut a couple things there? Add a couple Mickeys. I kind of want 3. What if we do something like this? Makes our inkable count a little better, even with the lanterns. We have a little bit worse early game, but past the really early turns, I think it'll be a little bit better. There are an awful lot of 4s in this deck, huh? There's a world where we could shave on Rapunzel's, too, to fill in somewhere else. Let's try this. And then if we still struggle with this, we might give one of the other Mufasa flavors a try. Because again, I think this version is cute, but I'm not necessarily sure if it's the best way to play Mufasa either. Piglet? Isn't Piglet vanilla? Where's Piglet? Isn't Piglet just a vanilla character with 2 lore? Yeah, I mean, if we're going to play Piglet, we would just play, like, another card that does a little bit more than that. I mean, I guess it's kind of just the same as playing Mickey, or... I mean, in that spot, Mulan is probably pretty similar, but it also gives us support. I don't know. It's tough. Yeah, it's just a 2 lore 3 cost. There's quite a few different flavors of 2 lore 3 costs. Sometimes the support is pretty good. I mean, 4 willpower, sure. But I think we're getting a little lost in the sauce. Crumps for Doc. Yeah, maybe. But the Doc is already good enough. It's the thing, is it's already such a good card that it doesn't need support around it. Because I think that the Doc is already just like an incredible card. One that I probably would rarely send to the Inkwell. Mufasa's great in this matchup. The Rapunzel's a little less good. Rabbit's usually pretty good. Maleficent's good. Jetsam's okay. We need something for ink. So we're going to hold on to the Mickey Mouse, I think. So they also have Jetsams that they're trying. So we dump this, they go. We need to get to 3 for the Maleficents. We may end up having to ink this Jetsam. We'll see what we draw. Snake is fine to ink. So go. The curve in this deck is maybe a little high, especially if you don't draw a Lantern. Maybe I'm supposed to more aggressively mulligan for Lanterns. I think there's a lot of like non-draws if you do that though. There's so many Mufasas. I guess we have to ink a Mufasa because we kind of have to play this Maleficent here. This we can probably ink just to play the Jetsam. And then we'll still have our 2 Mufasas plus the Hades as follow-up. I mean, we were just also on the draw this game too. I was supposed to be keeping track of whether I was on the play or the draw. And I haven't been. We've been on the draw an awful lot, and it's been pretty brutal. Like, a lot of these decks are really bad on the draw. Or at least they struggle quite a bit on the draw. So I guess we play this and say go. We could quest with this, but I'd rather save this for Tremaine protection. I mean, the draw is so miserable right now. There's very few decks that are favored on the draw, or that even have really a way to play. It's a lot of the steel decks. Especially if they're running some of the direct damage things. As you can actually clean up what they're doing, rather than not being able to do that at all. So they don't end up questing with the mini currently. They get rid of a second mini. We'll see if they end up questing with it or not. They don't. So I'm going to use it to hit here. To start. I think I need to take out a rabbit. We can play another Jetsam. If we bash here, we play another Jetsam pass. I'm debating on whether or not I can even play these Mufasas. Like if I play Mufasa here, if I hit here, then Teeth becomes live. To just kill Jetsam, and then it unlocks the mini without the Jetsam being able to do anything. If I just play Mufasa, then they get the quest with this again for free. Which puts them to 12. And then we play it, puts them way higher, and that's problematic. I think we can get rid of Doc. Like, I don't know how we beat just playing Tremaine and then, like, we're just not racing. Like, if they just Tremaine next turn, what are we doing? This deck is too slow to not have a board wipe. And I think that's the problem. Like, this deck doesn't get enough lore fast enough to not have a board wipe. Because if it's on the draw, we're just dying to them playing stuff and then turning them sideways. Because the Elsa helps, but the Elsa on its own doesn't clear the board enough. I don't think. So they snake their rabbit. Which makes sense. They're probably going to replay the rabbit this turn. Ink something, replay it. They'll probably bash with this. They may or may not even bash with the Surfer just to get the 2. It wouldn't surprise me if they do. Yep. So we bash here for sure. I'm considering this Jetsam just taking out this Mim. I think this is out for sure. We're just playing a Mufasa here. I feel like this has to be the line. Do we hold this back again? It just doesn't make any sense to not have Tremaine protection. So I'd rather have the Mufasa as a follow-up to like a Be Prepared. Gruesome and Grim. That is a card disadvantage if I've ever heard of one. So they opted to play Ursula without it having any targets, which I think is actually pretty smart here. Because we don't have any real way of interacting with it at all. Like, our cards just don't have text. And since our cards don't have text, we're just getting buried. Like, what do we do against this? This deck might be dead on arrival here. I think it's cute when it's working, but I think it has too many moving parts that don't really work together well enough to outrace things that just better colors are already doing. And it plays so badly on the draw that it's rough. Like, I'm not sure what we do here. Even if we clear both of these things, which I think we probably have to do, I'm not sure what we're doing into this Ursula. Guess let him go to 15, huh? I think we're just bashing here. But, like, I don't think I can even play this Mufasa. So I have to play this rabbit. Because we need an Inkable so that we can get to this Elsa. But this Elsa doesn't really help us either. We could play Hades and ink a Jetsam. I guess as long as I play the Lantern, we don't need an Inkable this turn necessarily. I can do this. Because then if we get an Inkable next turn, we still get to 8. And can Elsa. I think this is the last turn that I can hold back this Maleficent here. I think we're going to have to do something with it soon. I think the idea behind this deck is cute. And, like, dumping these in a little early is nice, but I'm not sure that this zero removal, slow, mid-rangey deck is enough to really keep up with the metagame. The problem is the more nonsense that you add, like Gruesome and Grim, the less consistent your Mufasas become, and the less they do. They just don't do as much, right? Like, we didn't even draw another Inkable. Like, there's so many uninkables in this deck that we also can't fight these. I have to hit this here just to try and find, like, a draw spell or something off this Mufasa. Okay. Alright, we're done with this deck. I think it was a cool experiment for these colors. But I just don't think that the deck is good enough. I would like to see it work too, but it doesn't. I don't think that these colors work in conjunction well enough. I think that this is already a big enough card. And some of the other Mufasa decks, when they hit their big things, it does more than just... All we have is Elsa. Like, we don't have anything else that interacts with our opponent's board. So if they're just doing this, like, if they're just playing stuff to the board, what are we doing to stop them? Nothing. We don't have any tempo. This is our only tempo card that is also our only, like, removal card. And we don't do enough early game to compete to put lore... to get lore on the board. So we're just playing from behind on the draw, and there's just no hope of recovery in those spots. So I think this deck, unfortunately, is a bit of a stinker. Which, you know, we tried. I think it's cute. And I think that there's a lot going on with some of the top end, but I just don't think that this color combo does enough without some sort of a big piece to catch up. Because, like, this is card disadvantage. It's card advantage in the way that you're putting something back in your hand, but you're not putting anything on the board, and it doesn't really necessarily push lore either if you're trying to stop what they're doing. Same with the snake. So we're not really adding anything that's questing until we get to, like, a 2/2. It's rough. I think it's cute. I don't think it really works. I do think the Jetsams were fine. It's a card that I've been considering for Ruby Purple anyway. However, I think this color combo with Mufasa is kind of a dud. If only for the fact that it doesn't really do enough to justify, like, the purple cards. I think if you're looking to play the goats, I would go with green instead of probably the amber, at least for this style of deck. It's cute, but I just don't think it's where we need to be. Okay, so that's this one. All right. Thanks for watching.